Who's ever had a moment where you're super desperate for a solution to a problem that will help you solve a deadline that you're facing? I mean, I've done it like a lot, right? And then you jumped into Google, right? Start looking for solutions to your problem, and sure enough, there's this nice piece of software that's open sourced by some guy in Ukraine, right, that wrote it. It's not supported, but you still implement it in production, right? So today's talk is going to be about that, those kind of scenarios, and how to avoid it. So my name is Angel Rivera. I'm a developer advocate for Circle CI. Enough about that. If you want to reach out to me after this, hit me up on Twitter. My handle's @punkdata. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. In my younger years, I worked on a team. We had really strong DevOps culture before the word DevOps kind of came to life. And when I was working on a team, I was a developer, and we worked really closely with our operations teams. And those folks were always, very responsive and on top of things. So again, really, I just want to set the stage about the team. We were really strong in all the things that we did together. We got a request to create some new features for a new web UI. Problem was that our old system was running in a relational data model, right? So a 2D kind of structure. And what we wanted to do was implement new frameworks, new JavaScript frameworks and stuff. And we wanted to, update the way that the data models were kind of pushing around in the application. And we wanted to implement JSON for the most part, right? Hierarchical data model, and that data structure is perfect for that. Problem was we were super frustrated because I don't know if you ever tried to take relational data and then put it into a nested structure in a web application. It's really hard to do because of all the linking, and you have to do a lot of sub-querying, and it's a really super hard thing to do. So we had a really hard time doing that. And luckily, I was hacking on some MongoDB, right? This is at the time it was very new. And I was like, wow, this is perfect. Let me show this to the team. I did. They loved it. They were like, yep, we're implementing that. It took 30 minutes. Showed them around, what I was doing. They were like, yep, we're doing that. The data lies how we need it. It's in transit the way we need it. Don't have to do much processing to it. So we started down the road, implemented MongoDB. But remember, it was just me with the experience, right? Nobody on the team had experience with MongoDB but me, and it was a hack at best, right? So we actually built the application based on Mongo, and we made quick work of it. I mean, super quick work, because we had solved that one excruciating problem. The developers, we packaged up a release, and then we sent it off to our boys in the ops team, and they pushed it out to production. We were happy, right? Our goals were met, project deadlines. Everyone was super impressed with how fast we, solved this problem, and life was good. Until, right, bum, bum, bum. We fast forward 90 days, Mongo kicks, and we start getting all kinds of alerts back from the clusters. The disk thrashing is maxed out. The CPUs are maxed out. Everything's just trashed, right? Then the customers start complaining. You're getting timeouts, failures. We had a problem right away. Again, we were the A team, right? We jumped in. We started looking at what was going on. We began our troubleshooting, and we quickly found out what was going on. In that time frame, our customers were using that product really, really, almost every day. They loved it. They generated about 15 million documents. The MongoDB records are called documents. So when that happened, just basically took down the system. Now you would think, right, it's MongoDB. We set this thing up, multiple HA, multiple clusters, right? But still, it was killing the system. But when we did a deeper dive, obviously, my queries were just trash, right? I was indexing on the wrong things. I wrote, just terrible queries that were just really bad on the system. And when the volume grew, it started to show. The other part of that was, this was the biggest problem. I tried to recreate a relational normalized model inside of a non-relational database. Don't do that. Right? It's non-relational for a reason, and I hacked the hell out of it and got it to work, and yeah. So that was another problem. So obviously the damage had been done, though, right? Their customers got the bad experience. Our organizations lost time and money, and this was the biggest crush for me was, our street cred just went to hell amongst ourselves, amongst our colleagues, amongst our company and our customers. So as good teams do, we performed a hot wash or a postmortem. And obviously, right, I already addressed the bad programming queries that I implemented. But also, we did a deeper dive and found out that we didn't even do any load testing or any like the normal things that we normally do, right? We neglected pretty much everything because we were so desperate and happy that we found a solution. We're like, yeah, it works. Let's just kick it into gear and throw it out there. So that was bad. Obviously, we didn't understand the capabilities of MongoDB. It wasn't Mongo's fault, right? It was our fault because we didn't understand, we didn't have deep knowledge of its capabilities and how to basically implement it, configure it. And I didn't know how to write MongoDB queries that well, obviously, right? So yeah, that was our shiny object moment that I wanted to share with everyone. And the next couple slides, I'm just going to go through some of the tips that I think everyone could kind of benefit from as far as from that experience and others. So number one, don't believe the hype, right? Like I said, we were a really solid team, and we got complacent. So there's like, you hear people talk about bad cultures. I think you could have good cultures that are bad as well, and that's what I mean by that. It's like we were so good, we stopped communicating and just assumed people were doing things, right? And that was one of the biggest things I can express to you today is, keep an eye out for that. We obviously didn't thoroughly vet the technology. We didn't understand the capabilities and how this tool actually operated, right, until it was too late. Who here runs with SOPs or at least has them in their offices? Wow, that's low showing. Definitely start working towards that. I think I work for companies all the time. I used to work for the government. We always ran on checklists. I guess it's an old military thing. But at the end of the day, when you have those checklists, they're just basically a guideline, right, and consistency. So it also helps with handoff. So if you bring in new people, they have a reference place. And even if you, I don't need you to have, a binder. That's the old school way. I think if you just do infrastructure as code, try to codify a lot of the processes that you do, people can easily go in, read up on what's going on, and understand it, right, in a technical sense instead of all these, verbiage. It's really bad when you have a binder like that you have to go through and you just hand it off to someone. I'd rather them, hey, do a git clone of this repo and read up, right? So in closing, technology is about people, and when you have people, cultures are formed, right? And again, like I mentioned, our culture was great until it wasn't. So real quick, just to touch up on some of this stuff here, nice transition into a little bit of the tips that I learned as a manager, and then I'll address some of the stuff that we could do as a whole, right, and individuals. So yeah, I'm from Jersey. Sorry, I had to put Tony up there, give you guys a little taste of what I'm like. So I started managing folks, and I developed this management style that I kind of named it pseudo management. So that's where I, have a team. I tell them, hey, I'm a peer. We are all working together for the same goal, pretty much during the day, right? So day to day, we're all on the same level. And then when I need to do managerial things, I'll pseudo up, do them, right? And then exit gracefully back down to a peer level kind of collaboration. So what this does is it helps knock down those intimidation barriers, right? And it enables people to feel that they own things and can make decisions equally, right? I really enjoy it, and I see it actually when I go into new organizations, it really peps the teams up, especially if they have kind of low morale. It, like I said, empowers people, and it gives them opportunities to level up. I've seen that too. Again, empower your people, right? Definitely let them own things. It makes them feel like, they don't have to ask for permission. And even when they make mistakes, right, it's a good learning experience. And then, again, they'll feel empowered. It instills leadership, I've found in my experience, which is really cool. This is a big one. Don't play the blame game, right, with your people. If there's failures, just embrace them, figure out what happened as a team, and then, of course you have to go deeper dives and figure out who's doing what so that you can address that. Maybe they need some training, or maybe the whole team needs a training. I've had that happen many, many times. But definitely embrace those failures, because that's how we learn, right? Until we crash, we really don't know what's going on. So some tips for individuals. And by the way, that's myself included in this, right? So yeah, I really hate when folks are like, hey, I'm not a manager, it's not my job. I don't believe in that. If you're on a team, it is your job, right? You're a team member, and you should be contributing as such, and thinking of ways to help the team and yourself, right, accomplish the goals that you have. Something's broke, fix it. I can't tell you how many times I sat in teams where, a developer will point out something that's obviously broken. He knows how to fix it, but he just puts a comment in the issue. Yeah, this is broken. It needs to be fixed. And I'm like, well, why don't you just do a pull request against it and, submit a patch and be done with it? It's really important that, we take the initiative. I think it just shows another way for you to level up as well. Yeah, this is what I struggle with quite often, because I have so much experience. Sometimes I'm sitting in a room with folks that are maybe a little less experienced, and they're telling me what's happening, and I already know the solution, but, it's hard for me to keep back. I'm from Jersey, so we're, like, really fast-paced, hyper, especially me. I'm really hyper. So, let's take a moment, breathe. When people are speaking, just let them, vent and get their point across. Because at the end of the day, they're learning, right? You already know how to solve this. Just stop. Listen to them, and then let them figure it out. A lot of times, they'll figure it out right in front of you. It's amazing when you just let them speak and let that, process, let them do their own process, thinking and processing, and then they'll, boom, like, oh, wait, that's it. That's the solution. They'll walk away. You don't have to do anything. And then learn how to communicate. What I mean by this is, this is in our jobs as developers, we're doing this all day in, day out. Whether we're writing code, whether we're writing comments, whether we're speaking with other developers. I try to, personally try to enhance my communication skills at all times. One of the things that I have a problem with, and I'll admit it, is when I read emails. Sometimes I'll elicit emotion out of it, and then I just have to stop and breathe, and then call them and say, hey, let's have a coffee, and sit down with the person. And 99% of the time, it's just all up here in my head. And they had no intention, what I thought they were intending was not even there, right? So learn how to communicate and keep going with that, because it's really important. I think in life as well, we can all benefit from that. So in closing, this is the closer, by the way. The tech problems are not tech problems, right? And I believe that by just, taking a moment and respecting each other, open heart, open minds, right? I think we can, help the industry just build better behaviors and help each other, achieve our goals personally, as a company, as a team. And yeah, I just ask that, this day and age, we have this society's pretty rough right now. I think we can move forward, and I ask you that, I hope you're inspired to move forward and build better cultures together. That's all I got. Is that within the time frame? Yeah? Thank you.